If you want later, I can put together, I pull out a presentation because this is not my laptop. I can connect and then take you through what has happened in the project itself, because that itself is a very interesting story. We started as a group of architects who were trying to create sustainable projects. Right? So FHD is the name of the company. We used to talk to many developers. I'm talking 2010, 2011, about creating communities that are not about creating density, but actually making a great lifestyle for people who are living there. Right? And most developers can't hear this. It is about how much money you can make, how much yield you can take out of the land. So the problem there is no prototype for anybody to compare it to and say, okay, this is a great way to live. And as architects, we could see it. I have lived abroad, studied abroad, came back. You look at Auroville. I was at Auroville for 2 months taking a sustainability course, which changed how we are imagining people should live. And today it has become very easy to talk about, but in 2010, 2011, it was still something that was fairly nascent. So when we proposed this idea of a farm community where instead of having independent farmhouses, which a lot of people in the city have, they buy 1 acre, 1.5 acres, build a small house. We also had one like that near Aziz Nagar only. And it is extremely difficult to maintain it. If you have had a farmhouse, you would know the amount of pain. First 1 year would be extra, you would be super happy, you're going there every weekend, but after a while, it's just impossible to maintain, right? And it's a white elephant, right? You just have to keep putting money into it for very little weekend benefit that you might have once in a month or once in a few months. So what if we take this idea of a farmhouse but convert it into a collective thinking? That is how the initial germination of this idea of Nandi was born. They said, okay, at least there are 10 directors in the company. Why don't we at least create a small community where all of us could live, and it feels like a farmhouse, but all the maintenance is combined, all the staff, all these get generalized over multiple people. So eventually we came through an optimized method, right? Is it 10 better? Is 15 better? Is 20 better? At what scale a community like this becomes self-sustaining? And then eventually we agreed on around at least 50 units should be there, 50 homes should be there, which all behave like a contiguous large community farmhouse. Right? And we started looking for land. 111 made a lot more sense because here you cannot construct more than 10%, so you cannot even imagine somebody else wanting to be greedy about how much you want to build, because 90% of the land has to be left empty. So it automatically made sense to create a society like this, where around 36.5 acres, 73 homes, with production in the society itself, production of energy. So the entire community is self-sustaining in terms of power. So we use all rooftop solar panels. Every house has around 6 to 8 kilowatts. So absolutely no dependence in terms of energy needed, but then we are connected to the government grid because it's a net metering system, so we don't store the energy. In terms of water, we store water. We have close to 20 lakh liters of water on site, in dug wells. When you go around, you'll be able to see it. Of course, treating of waters, STPs and all that. The food and vegetables is cultivated on site. So whatever waste we are creating, it goes into a biogas plant, and then the sludge goes into the farm. So you kind of close the loop to make sure that you enrich your soil but still get produce out of it. So like this, we closed at least 3 or 4 good, we call them as sustainability loops, right? Waste generation, energy generation, water generation. And eventually things like Goshala came into picture, because you save food is very, very critical. We call it organic food in many places, but we don't know where they are actually coming from, right? Organic food is just a attestation on the cover, but nobody's actually certifying it. So better see in front of you whether the food is grown that way, and that is the only way you can ensure that it's that way. So milk was one of the biggest problems. So we said we'll have an in-house Goshala. Started with 50 cows, now it is close to 100 cows. There are certain learnings that happen from there as well. Over time, how do you maintain a facility like this as a community? But slowly and steadily, this got traction, and eventually now Organo is the name of the development arm. So FHD split into Organo and a consultancy firm, which I'm an architect in the consultancy part. Organo is a development part. So there are almost 6 or 7 projects now in the same idea of collective farm community. So this is the first one. Then we have an Antaram, Chevella, near Vikarabad. So it's already caught the imagination of people. Slowly people are trying to understand that there is a better way to experience nature. You're not just about greenery, but it's in a productive way. So that's the story of the Nandi. I think when you walk around, you will probably see or experience more of it rather than me explaining them. There is a part of this discussion where I have added some story of what has happened with the bamboo side of construction. Right? Like in architecture, there is very few materials today apart from concrete, steel, and glass. So when we started thinking about a project like this, it became automatically important to think about a material itself that would go along with that theme. So we started looking at bamboo, and I can take up this presentation whenever you're ready. It's like a 25-minute kind of take you through where we started, how this was built, and where we have gone from here, right? Because big structures in bamboo never existed before. They were all tiny huts or scaffoldings and things like that. So a big belief that moved us from where we started to understanding the potential of bamboo, and then eventually converting that into a model where you make clients into believing the long-term feasibility of something like this, right? Because otherwise, first question is, how long will it last? How much does it cost? Will this have fungus in it? There's very common questions that we have, but now things have, when we went to evaluate whether a big bamboo structure is possible, the biggest was around 2,000 square feet, 1,800 square feet to be honest, right? And that was on a seashore in Goa. Absolutely, for 10 years it's been standing there, nothing has happened on a high salty environment, in the middle of a forest where every bug is possible to come and attack, and it was staying there. So there was something happening that has been done to treat it, which eventually lengthened the life of bamboo. So we said, okay, let's take a leap of faith and scale this up. And that's how this project came up, somewhere around 10,000 square feet of roof structure. Whenever you're ready, I'll take you through it. For now, that's the introduction from my side. Thank you.